Josh Flint with Prairie Farmer. I'm here today with Brian Young, Southern Illinois University. We're at the Bear Crop Science Respect the Rotation event here in Collinsville, Illinois. Brian, I understand you have a few comments regarding the weather and how that's translated into herbicide-resistant weeds.
Yeah, so 2012 has been extremely challenging with the heat and the drought stress that we've also had this year. And so it's done a couple of things. In terms of the soil residual herbicides that we try to use for better management of our herbicide resistance, didn't get good rainfall for activation, but looking at the end of the year, where we used residuals versus not, it was still a great investment in resistance management by using residual herbicides. Even though they didn't give us 90% control, might have gave us 10%. In some areas, it's still a great investment because sometimes we can't tell you how to get 10% more weed control post-emergence. Another thing that it did is when it came time for post-emergence applications in the crop, drought-stressed weeds, heat-stressed weeds made it very difficult for the herbicides to realize optimal activity. So that allowed for some survivors. Might have even allowed, in some cases, for low-level resistance to be expressed and go ahead and those weeds survive just as well as high-level resistant weeds. But then we came further along when those weeds that survive those post-applications try to survive. It's always easiest to have regrowth when you have ample soil moisture, but we didn't have that. So because we didn't have soil moisture, I think some of the weeds that were injured from that post-herbicide did die off, or at least they were stunted enough that they didn't continue to grow and regrow like we've had the previous 2 years. So it's helped us and it's hurt us in some ways. The hot, dry conditions in terms of weed resistance. Now, recent rains have allowed some of those weeds to go ahead and continue to grow and produce some seeds. So we still have significant amounts of weed resistance that we're dealing with. In terms of where we go from here, planting our fall wheat, going into next cropping season in corn and soybeans in the spring, we need to be thinking about, not necessarily overly concerned, but thinking about carryover. Atrazine, planting wheat this fall should be something to think about. Do I expect a lot of major problems? I don't, but certainly in high pH areas where we've had a late application of atrazine at a higher rate. I want to be thinking about that, maybe doing bioassays or some sort of soil test.
Now, one last question. Can you give us an update on the dreaded Palmer amaranth in Southern Illinois? How was this year? Did we see more? Or?
So the issue with Palmer amaranth versus water hemp, probably the number one email I've had, photos of, is this Palmer amaranth? And it's not. We've had a lot of photos. Some have been Palmer amaranth. Majority are just water hemp that survived glyphosate. So we still have plenty of water hemp in the state. Palmer amaranth, though, we're seeing more of it. And this is Collinsville is our northernmost site where we can obviously say we have commercial level field problems. Not just a few plants here and there, not just something in the roadside, but causing significant concerns and problems for growers.
So it's probably the first time guys have let a sigh of relief. It's water hemp, not Palmer.
Right, exactly.
Well, thank you, Brian. We appreciate your time.
Thank you for your time.